the Slim Reaper, the Heisman winner, Devonta Smith, lands in the top 10. We were worried about the draft capital. We saw Jalen Waddle get drafted over him, his former teammate at Bama. But landing in Philadelphia, which is one that I think a lot of us had in the back of our minds throughout this entire draft process, a team that does need a bona fide wide receiver one to carry that passing game. It's a raw offense with Jalen Hurts. But Alex, for you, how do you feel about Devonta Smith in this landing spot in Philly?
I love this pick for the Eagles. I love it for Smith because, yes, it is a raw offense, but in terms of opportunity share, Devonta Smith is the guy now in Philly. And you look at the team they jumped to make the selection, the New York Giants, and I would much rather have Devonta Smith in Philly than in New York. You look at New York, they just paid Kenny Golladay $80 million. They have these tertiary options in Slayton and Shepard and Evan Ingram that are going to siphon off targets. You got Saquon at the running back spot. So yes, maybe there's some more efficiency there, and the quarterback play arguably could be better. And Daniel Jones, who really knows right now. But in Philly, Devonta Smith could be an absolute target hog from day one. So we will get into Kadarius Toney later on a different date, and we'll talk about him with the New York Giants. But Devonta Smith, man, I don't know if there was a landing spot in the entire NFL that could have presented a bigger target opportunity than the Philadelphia Eagles. And Smith is a guy who can take that kind of target volume. As a Heisman-winning wide receiver, which is crazy to say, in 2020, he had 117 receptions for 1,856 yards and 23 touchdowns. So yes, he is undersized, but this is a guy that can just play the wide receiver position, and he can play it well. He knows how to get open. He knows how to manipulate these defensive backs, and he is so quick. So I think Philly is giving Jalen Hurts a real chance with this pick. They now have Devonta Smith, Dallas Goedert, Jalen Reagor, Miles Sanders, some unproven pieces, but guys that have a ton of upside and a ton of talent. So I expect Smith to lead this team in targets year one as a rookie, which normally is not the expectation. And there's targets for the taking, like I'm saying, Stef, in this offense. Greg Ward led the team in targets in 2020 with 79. So they were just in desperate need of an identity and a true wide receiver one, and they got that in Smith.
80 vacated targets in this offense. I think Smith can be given that floor of around 80 targets. He has the clear path to be the number one on the team. Let Reagor play the big slot. Goddard's good, but he's still a tight end, potentially splitting targets with Zach Ertz throughout the season. And this is going to be Devonta Smith on the outside, beating corners with finesse, technicality, his footwork. And he doesn't get beat in press coverage. Matt Harmon, who does the reception perception, showed that was a fallacy because he said Devonta Smith's 78.9% success rate versus press was among the best of all the 2021 prospects and is an 89th percentile overall in reception perception history that's been going on for a few years. So there's really only two things to worry about with Devonta Smith as far as his ceiling. And this is why I have him as the clear wide receiver 2 in this class still. 9th overall right now in Superflex rookie rankings. You can see the updated version of that as new information comes in, as we get into OTAs and camp in our Discord channel. We'll put the link to that down below. Hop in there and join the party with us, join leagues with us. But back to Devonta Smith, there's only two things I worry about. It's the lack of size. And I can actually forgive the late NFL declare. I know that's one thing that people use against Smitty, is that he played all 4 years in college, and early declare is an indicator of a wide receiver being good in fantasy. But I think that can be attributed to that Alabama wide receiver room, how competitive it was. You had multiple first-round wide receivers in there. But that lack of solid comps of guys that can be true number ones at 170 pounds, just there's not a good track record there. And then we have Jalen Hurts' passing acumen to worry about. Those are the only two things holding Devonta Smith back.
Yeah, I mean, you're right. To me, Jalen Hurts in the passing game is a lot more of a concern for me. The size is concerning, but we've seen it done before, and this might be a stretch, but Marvin Harrison for my Colts back in the day, I mean, his playing weight ended up at 6 foot, around 180, but that's still tiny for an NFL wide receiver. Devonta Smith's still a young kid, so give him a couple years. I bet by the time he's, 27, 28 years old, he can get up to a 180 playing weight. And Marvin Harrison was just a route running extraordinaire, true number one for Peyton Manning. Caught 143 passes in a season, held that single season record for a while. So Devonta Smith can draw that kind of comp. And again, that's kind of like the one super upside outlier. I'm not saying he is going to be Marvin Harrison, but it's possible. And the weight's not quite as concerning to me because we have seen it before. But yeah, this offense is much more of a question, in my opinion, for Devonta Smith. And I'm much more bullish about his target share. I think he's going to easily go over 100 targets as a rookie just because of lack of other playmakers in Philly.
So his BMI is 23. Okay, that's your body mass index. That's a stat that combines your height and your weight to give you essentially a score. And I found this from a user named Mockmaster on Reddit. He said there's only 3 wide receivers in the last decade that have averaged over 10 PPR points per game with a BMI below 25.
Yikes.
And we have Devonta Smith at BMI 23. Now those 3 guys were DJ Chark, D.D. Westbrook, and Hollywood Brown. And I'm going to say something again that I feel like I've said a lot in this class, which is that this guy's an outlier, but could also be a generational talent. Because we have guys in this class that have everything there, and then they have one kind of weird stat that if you just let it simmer can drive you nuts on these prospects, whether it's the height, whether it's the weight, whether it's the speed. Maybe these guys are all just that good that they can be exceptions to the rule. Smith does have that top 10 draft capital, so he's going to get an opportunity to produce. I think you're going to know what you have in Smith early. He could struggle getting used to the NFL, but he could also be a year one target hog and one of the greatest outliers we've seen at the position, becoming the new face of the smaller physique for wide receivers in the league with guys like Marquise Brown, Tutu Atwell just getting drafted at 155 pounds.
Oh my gosh.
In the top 3 rounds. So it's not a death sentence. And I think if you're using just one stat, BMI, letting that drive you crazy to start fading Smitty, I think you're making a mistake.
I agree. I still have him as my number 2 receiver in this class. He's number 11 on my overall board in super flex leagues for this class. I have him just behind Jamar Chase at wide receiver. But yeah, I mean, it's tough, and he definitely would be a little bit of an outlier. But Steph, you said it, like, this class is tough to pin down. And statistically speaking, some of these guys are going to bust. Some of these guys are going to pan out. But I just wish all of them would, because they all have such fun parts of their game. Like Devonta Smith and his size. You got Jalen Waddle and some issues with his production in college. You have Trey Lance and FCS competition and lack of production and lack of sample size. You got Zach Wilson in only one good season. You have so many guys that have these red flags, and it's hard to pin down which ones we should be focusing on and which ones are going to be fine. Statistically speaking, a couple guys in this class aren't going to pan out the way we want them to. But I wish if there was one year where we could just have everyone turn out to be a phenomenal NFL player, it would be this year, because Smith is another one of those guys in that category that there's so much to like about his game. He's done everything just about that he can possibly do except gain an extra 10 pounds. And it leaves us with some question marks. I mean, someone get this guy some macros, get him some carbs in his system. But I'm excited for Smith. I think it's certainly a huge lift for Jalen Hurts in this offense. I actually think it's fine for Jalen Reagor. I think he's going to operate much better as a 2. They can move him around the formation a little bit more. I expect him to come out and have a much better sophomore season than he did as a rookie. So I don't think this is bad for Reagor at all. But yeah, we're going to see this Eagles offense come out with a lot of young pieces and see if they've got what it takes, man. I think we're going to know a lot about Jalen Hurts as well at the end of the 2021 season.